Hello, my name is Friesen, and this is an impromptu interview with my grandma Doris Friesen. She was born in 1940 and lived through lived in Germany during World War II, and this is just a recording of her stories and what she lived through during the war and after it, how things were. And all right, Grandma, can you tell me your birthday, your actual birthday?
June the 12th, 1940. I was born just a few months before the world, after the World War started.
Yeah.
The World War started in September the 3rd, 39.
39.
39, yeah. Well, the first few years, I don't remember much. But I do remember I must have been maybe, I would say 2.5, 3 years old. There was air alarms going on, and we had to pack up and go down to the basement. And one time I do remember the bombs, they flew down, they had a whistling sound to it. How they exploded not too far from where we lived. So I know what the whistling sounds on the explosion
and
sound like.
Where exactly did you live in Germany?
That was in Saxony.
Saxony, okay.
Yeah. Exactly in Zwickau.
What city?
The city of Zwickau.
Zwickau? Can you spell that?
Z like a zebra. ECKAU.
Okay, gotcha. And that's southwestern Germany.
No, not exactly. It was closer to the border, really.
To the border.
Well, Plauen was closer to the border, but Zwickau is a little farther away. I don't know exactly how far away it is.
Okay. And this was like 1944?
Had to be in 1944, something like that.
Okay. Was this after?
Yeah.
What Americans call D-Day?
No, that was before. It was still the Fall War was going on, the Second World War.
Yeah. Oh, but
it was no D-Day, not that I know.
There was no talk of June 6, 1944.
I don't remember that. I don't remember anything, but I do remember the soldiers, they marched, and it seems like it was an endless march, and you couldn't cross the street because they just took over the width and the length of the street, and there was no end in sight. The soldiers were marching, and they were marching to a different place, because probably we didn't have no planes then, or trucks or cars like we have now. It was kind of scarce cars anyway. And so we stood there and we watched them for a while, and then we had to go back because we couldn't cross the street.
This was in the main city?
That was in the main city.
Okay.
Yeah, that was in Zwickau then still. And I do remember it was toward the end of the war. Not the end of the war, I shouldn't say this. Before we left from Saxony back to the West Germany, because that's where my grandma lived, and we could stay there.
Okay.
So anyway, and we went to the train station to catch a train, and we couldn't catch a train. We always had to go back home. And I think the third day, we went there to catch the train, and it happened to be the last day before there's no more trains going to the west. And the conductor was the first that said, before anybody goes into the train, that woman with the 4 children goes in first. That's the only way we went to the west. And when you go to the train station like before, if it was for survival, nobody helped to go into the train or made room for you or anything. They pushed you out of the way.
Right.
They pushed you out of the way so they get in first, you know. That's what I remember. But when we went on the train station the days, several days before, I remember there was a train on the side rails, and it was full of soldiers.
Mm-hmm.
And they were even standing on the front by the platform. They were standing there. And I remember one guy, he looked at me and I looked at him, and I actually could see he was afraid. He didn't want to go wherever they want to send him, but they all had to go. I remember still his dark eyes, and he had blonde hair. And well, we were running to the bunker because an air alarm was going on, you know, on the train station there. Anyway, and times were bad.
Yeah. So some context for this train was towards the end of the war.
It was at the end of what they probably sent them over to the Eastern Front,
so
you know.
Yeah, you were evacuating Eastern Germany to get to the West.
No, well, actually, I think they sent them actually to the East. Even though we were in the East already, East Germany, they sent those to
the troops, yeah.
The troops to the East.
But you yourself you were living in Eastern Germany with your mom and brothers and sisters, or it was sisters,
yeah,
all
yeah.
sisters,
all sisters, yeah.
And your dad was a soldier.
He was a soldier, yeah.
And he was deployed.
Yeah, he was gone. Yeah.
He was gone, or
well, he was wherever he was. I don't know where he was, you know. But he was a soldier. Yeah.
Okay. Did he?
No, he came back. He came back. He was a prisoner of war for a while, and he came back. But so he didn't get killed, you know, in the war.
Okay. So, yeah, you were evacuating. You and your family, your mom and your sisters, were evacuating
to the
East
west.
Germany to the west.
To the west.
To the west.
Yeah, because we know they were already, the Russian soldiers. They were already so close. We could hear the cannons go off. You know, so we had to leave.
Yeah.
Especially if we have somebody who took us in. You know, so no. And then what the Russian soldiers did after during the war still, and after the war, it was a luck that we left.
Yeah.
You know, we wouldn't be alive today no more if we would have stayed. You know, so we had to run.
And you would have still stayed there if that train conductor didn't stop everybody, right?
Well, if he wouldn't have said this woman with the 4 children goes in first, we would have got stuck there. Yeah. We couldn't leave because the people wouldn't have helped us. They would have pushed us out of the way. What you gonna do with 4 little kids? And one was just a baby, and the other one was maybe a year old, and then it comes a 2 years old and a 5-year-old. You know, they go. Well, anyway, what you gonna do?
Right.
You had the extra time to get into the train. You know.
Right.
So and when they come and push you out of the side, you never make it in.
And that was the 3rd day?
That was the 3rd day. That was the last day they had a train to come out to the west.
And where you took me when I was 10 was where your grandmother was.
Where's my grandmother was? We got a place to stay. Actually, a 1-bedroom, 1 room actually, it was better than nothing, you know, because my grandmother didn't have all that room either. We could stay with her till we found something else, you know. And then the longer we stayed, the more we had a chance to get a couple of bedrooms, you know. But it wasn't that easy then either.
Yeah. So when you finally made it to Western Germany, it was living with your grandmother.
My grandmother, yeah. And my uncles, they were all in war, so there was nobody else, a male there, you know, and my aunts, the aunts, they were all married and they didn't live in different places, you know, so it was just our grandmother and us, you know, my mother and with the 4 children.
And so you're the oldest of your sisters?
No, I'm the second oldest.
Second oldest.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So, yeah, but the times were rough.
Yeah.
The times were rough. Even though we lived out in the country and we had access to the farmers and to get say certain things, but the farmers, they struggled too,
Mm-hmm.
you know, because they had to deliver so much for the war effort, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Food, not just food, but like potatoes and apples and grain and whatever have you know. They had to make their donation, sort of,
Right.
to the war effort, you know. I mean, it was a mandatory, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So it wasn't that easy. Matter of fact, a lot of times we went and stole fruit like apples and stuff like this.
Yeah.
Well, it wasn't just us; it was the others did too. You know, we were not the only refugees which came to the West. You know,
Right.
there was a lots of them, and they all did the same thing.
Yeah. So.
And the farmers knew that, but they couldn't stay out in the field all night long too and all day. You know, so
Yeah.
so they took a certain amount in.
Right. And okay, so that's what you remember about.
That's what I remember.
About the war.
And you almost had to do what you had to do then, you know. It's because it was right or what's not right. It doesn't make the difference. You do what you have to do,
Mm-hmm.
because it's the time
Mm-hmm.
has to play. You sometimes you do things you wouldn't do, just because you're forced to.
Yeah.
Because of survival, you know.
Yeah. There was one story that you told me a while back was that food was on the same subject of food. The food was so scarce that you couldn't leave the table, you know, or else other people would eat your.
Well, sure
food.
they would, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you know, other people, yeah. It's a survival. It's a survival. I mean, it's not being friendly to somebody. It has nothing to do with being to survive, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And you do things what you usually wouldn't do.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And this is war. This is war, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And you learn certain things. Be very thrifty. And actually, this all what you learn during wartime is gonna stay with you.
Mm-hmm.
It stay with you lifetime, you know.
Mm-hmm. And so, after the war ended, do you remember?
Because the war ended doesn't mean the times were better. We had food stamps. Everything was rationed. You get stamps. You could buy only so much milk. You could buy only so much sugar, or bread, unless you go to the farmers and get some bread there, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But other groceries, it's all rationed.
Right. And how long did that last after?
I don't know exactly how long that lasted, but I remember we got new money.
New money.
We got new money because the inflation was so high that you couldn't hardly buy nothing no more with the money you had.
Yeah.
You know, so they brought in new money, and that was better than from then on.
Okay.
And I don't remember the year no more when the new money came in.
So they got rid of
the old money.
The old money, but okay,
we got new money.
So the marks replaced something else, correct?
Well, yeah. Well, it still was marks. It was just the different looking money.
Different looking. Oh, okay.
So it was just different looking money.
It's cheaper to make, right? Yeah. No. Or
well, money is not hard. It's not difficult. Even now, money is cheap to make.
Yeah.
You know.
Okay. So. Well, okay. You were talking about the Berlin Wall and how
I never lived in Berlin. I was in Berlin, but I never lived in Berlin. Oh, when they built in 1962, when they built the wall.
Right.
Yes, that was all organized because you couldn't build several hundred kilometers of wall in one overnight. So that had to be organized months beforehand, because each town and each city had to build their own part of walls.
Right.
That's the only reason they could have built the wall several hundred miles long.
And you said it was overnight. They built the wall.
They built the wall overnight.
And so that's pretty amazing. Like the stretch.
It is.
The stretch of wall.
It's the stretch from north to south to stretch the borderline with a wall. Sure, that had to be all organized and prepared with cement and bricks and rocks, whatever they used for,
And the manpower
and
to
the
do
manpower. That all had to be. I don't know if they used soldiers for that, maybe partly, but the townspeople, they had to build this themselves.
But it was Eastern Germany
Eastern Germany built this, and they built this for that reason that the Western people cannot go in. That's what they told the people. They don't want the West Germans into the East Germany. But the truth was, they wanted them in there. They were afraid that the Eastern run over to the West. That was the truth. But they didn't tell the people. The government didn't tell the people that. They said they don't want the West people in the Eastern sector.
So, the truth was that instead of, we want to keep everybody out of Eastern Germany, we just want to lock everybody in.
That's right, because they shot a lot of people who wanted to come from the east to the west. Mm-hmm. That proved in itself that they wanted to keep the eastern people in the east and not in the west. They want to prevent them from, if you shoot a few people, other people don't
try anything, right?
To try nothing. They stay, and take all that abuse they had for the people blend. Mm-hmm. And it's not that they want the Western in. I know for a fact, in our little town, a guy killed another guy because of jealousy. It was over a girl. I know this for a fact, because it happens right there in our little town. And he went over to East Germany so he can get prosecuted.
Huh.
That's what happens. They take anybody in because they want the manpower for work.
Right, okay.
They don't want to lose them. They want to keep them. So they keep so if anybody wants to come in, they take them in.
Yeah, but they don't want anybody to get out.
They don't want nobody to get out. They want to keep those people. Because they need the manpower for work.
Did you not have any family that lived in East Germany when it was?
My father was in East Germany. Matter of fact, he was a border patrol for the Communist Party.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Wow, I didn't know that. Did he
It's
ever...
not that he was communistic. I didn't know this at first, but later on I found out. But it was a job.
Yeah. So he was...
He was a border patrol.
He was a communist, though?
Well, he joined the Communist Party.
When
you had to be a Communist Party in order to go be on the border.
Right. Okay. So, after the war, he came to live...
He was in East Germany and we were in West Germany.
Okay. So you never saw him after the war?
I did see him after we already was here in the States, and my sisters and we went, it was in 87. I think it was in 87. We went to Germany and we went to the Eastern Germany. But we had to get papers, the permission to that we can get in. That was in 87.
Okay. And 88 is when, or 87 was when the wall came down, right? Or 88?
No, the wall came down in 89.
89.
In 89 the wall came down.
So that's 87 was when you saw him?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
But he didn't live long after this no more. He died. He had prostate cancer.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so that's life. You know, we don't plan the life. It just happens that way.
Yeah. Was it... When did he take the job? He took the job after the wall went up.
Yeah, that must have been that time, after the wall, you know.
And you were already...
We were in West.
20.
I don't know. I was
You were 22.
22. I was 22 by
So
then. Yeah.
you were pretty grown up.
But you know, even though the war is over, the times there is many years after the war, it's still bad.
Yeah.
Because the war over doesn't mean everything is hunky-dory again. It's not so.
Mm-hmm.
It takes a long time to recuperate from all that, you know. It takes years.
Mm-hmm.
So life was still bad afterwards, too.
Yeah. Do you have any stories, any notable stories after the war of how bad things were?
You have to you don't throw no food away, this is for sure. You eat everything up, and if you don't eat it up at the first time, which doesn't happen very often, usually there was no leftovers, everybody eat everything they could, you know.
Yeah.
But there was a lot of American soldiers then. That's what I remember. Even in a small town by us, we had American soldiers. But other bigger places, it was more so, you know.
Mm.
Yeah. We like to see the American soldiers. They always had candy or chocolates for us.
Yeah?
It's true.
American soldiers were the main soldiers that stayed after the war.
Yeah. You didn't see any German soldiers no more, nothing. They all were civilians then.
Well, after the war...
I didn't see any soldiers no more,
after
the
the
German
war,
soldiers.
There was no German military after the war, was there?
Sure, they had military. There always was a threat that the Russians advance.
Okay.
You know, they had to have military then still. That's why they had the American soldiers there, because there was always the threat that the Russians advance.
Oh, wow.
And since East Germany was occupied by the Russian, so that included the East German soldiers too, or the Polish, you know, and all those Eastern Bloc states or countries.
So there was no other Allied forces besides the Americans?
By the Americans. Oh, Berlin was occupied by the French, the English, the Americans, and the Germans. The Germans got a little section too.
But you never saw any British or American or
no,
French
soldiers? I didn't see them. But the whole city was divided into 4 sections, which was the British, the English, the Germans, and the Russian. Well, the Eastern German, you know. And it was since they occupied by the Russians, so it was the Russians, you know.
Right.
Because they had to do what the Russians wanted.
Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't know all that. That's eye-opening, actually. I mean, everybody kind of talks about World War II and up till 1945, and don't really look at
45. That's when the war ended. Yeah. But it was the American and the English. They bombed Germany big time. The city of Dresden is one of the beautiful cities. They have a lot of artifacts and stuff like the buildings there. They almost destroyed the whole city. I mean, it's not just that one city. A big part of Germany itself was destroyed. It was nothing but rubbles.
Yeah.
And it's all by the English and by the Americans.
This weekend Heather was showing you some pictures from Dresden and how it was rebuilt.
Beautiful, beautiful city.
Yeah, but it was pretty much destroyed, right?
Yeah, but I suppose they left some for remembrance to people to see, but most of the city was rebuilt again. Yeah.
Wow.
Against the eastern sector, which was bombed too. You could see the rubbles in 87 still.
Wow.
Because the Russians didn't rebuild hardly anything. They built wohn blocks, what they call it, houses where people could move in. And they were 4 or 5 stories high with no elevator. You had to walk them up and down all the time. That's a job in itself. And Nothing. It's all very ordinary and basics, you know. Yeah, so it's now war is not good.
Let's see.
Some consider war necessary sometimes, but I don't think so. It's only not necessary if they don't want to, you know.
Right. And
There's always somebody who doesn't want to.
Yeah. And well, there's one thing that you said about war and how it's not made by the people. It's
Yeah. Oh, yeah. People don't make war. Politicians make war. Always. Always. And it's always for power. They want something, but it's even if you want something, it's you need power for that. It's always for power. It's politicians make war. First, they lied a big time to the people. People don't never make war. They squabble a lot, but they don't make war. It's the politicians make war.
Yeah.
To this day.
When you were going to school after the war, did your school teach you a lot about the war, like World War II, the early parts?
They never. I don't remember. They were never talking about war.
Never talked about it. Never in history class.
Not that I remember.
Okay. So.
In history class, I don't remember we had a history class.
It was mainly just mathematics and language and writing.
We had what I really liked was for the world map where every country is and where the
geography.
Geography, I like that one. I remember that one.
Mm-hmm. So
reading and math and we had religion. Yeah. And
you had religion.
In those days, the preacher could still come to the school for 1 hour.
Oh wow! So
one or twice a day, a week. Yeah.
Was it a Catholic or?
Yeah, the southern part of Germany is all Catholic. Yeah.
Oh, okay. All
the
right.
northern part is mostly Lutheran.
But it was a public school you went to, right?
Public school, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So you had math, geography,
and reading and geography, yeah.
And then you had like a special hour time for religion.
For religion, yes. Catechism and religion.
Mm-hmm. Okay. That's really interesting.
And the preacher himself came.
Huh.
Not somebody else, it's the preacher himself. But like I said, it was a small town,
Yeah.
So.
And this was, so you started off in Sikau, or what was the city called again?
Kollenburg.
Oh.
Kollenburg. It's a small town in the mountains.
Oh, okay. When you moved to the west, but in eastern Germany, you were in Zwickau.
And we moved then to Kollenburg. That was in Bavaria, actually.
Bavaria.
Yeah.
Okay. So I got my geography mixed up.
Yeah.
Saxony was eastern.
Eastern part, yeah.
Eastern part, and
it bordered onto Polish.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Well, and the Russian took part of Poland.
Mm-hmm.
And part of Germany, and they wanted it more and more.
Yeah, I mean, after the war, communism kind of took over.
Yeah.
It was a battle. I mean, we had the Cold War.
Yeah. Well, communism is not good.
Why is that?
Because the people are being used as workers. You have no free will. If you express your free will, if the government doesn't like it, they put you away for good.
Jeez.
Yeah. And they tell you where to work and what you make. It's the government who decides what your income is for which job and no. No, there is no free will there.
And so are you happy that you ended up being in West Germany
Oh, absolutely.
rather than East Germany?
Yeah. Sure, they provide the medical, but this is all medical. You get your food, and you get your all the things, but it's not free. You work for it, and you get a certain amount of money for this, but it's not dictated by the worker, the people who give you the job. It's dictated by the government. They say how much you're gonna be allowed to make.
Right.
And where you work. If they want you someplace miles away, you have to go miles away and work.
Okay.
Yeah,
so you're pretty happy that you didn't get...
No, I don't want... no.
You're happy to have the freedom.
The only people who were happy with the communism which worked for the government, and they always had privileges, But if you don't work for the government itself, you have no privileges. You're just a slave,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh.
And they make it, and then they make it out. So it's such a good thing. It's that medical. I would agree with medical that it's public, that it should be. But this is probably the only thing which I would agree with the communism. It's everything is, which is a socialistic program, medical for everybody.
Yeah.
It's still socialistic, But not everybody, everything has to be bad. There's probably good things in there too, But why give up so much for a few little good stuff, You can have medical for everybody without being communistic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you think? What about Canada's system?
Well,
and England's system. England now and Canada, they have free health care, but
it's not free. You pay when you work. You pay in
taxes
to taxes. Yeah, it's not free. You pay for it.
Right. They want to say it's free.
Yeah, but they want to say it's free, but it is not free. You pay for it. Everybody who works gets automatic a certain amount deducted for medical.
Right.
So you pay for it. It's a payment, But the thing is, all those countries which have socialistic medical, they are not so expensive. The doctors are... Here in America, everything is medical, so expensive. The doctors making too much money, hospitals making too much money.